Hi, I'm Zorte, and you probably don't know me, but I'm an Ultimate Iron Man with way too much free time on my hands. Equipped with 2K total, over a billion items, and an opinion that nobody really asked for, I'm here to share my old school thoughts with anyone who will listen. Since its launch, Old School RuneScape has seen a lot of updates. 2021 may not have been the best year for new content, but with a lot of discussion around updates in the community recently, I think it begs the question, what are the best updates that Old School's ever gotten? Today, I've compiled a list of my top 5 favorite Old School content additions. These are my personal favorite updates, but there's a lot of content to choose from. So if you don't see your favorite in the list today, leave me a comment and let me know what it is, or your own top 5 if you have one, and let's get into it. The game backup that Old School RuneScape was based on was taken shortly before the release of the original God Wars. This was one of the first major expansions of PVM in RuneScape, and its popularity made it an obvious choice to add to Old School in October of 2013. To this day, God Wars remains a popular and excellent example of content that masterfully balances time investment, rewards, and difficulty. The 4 bosses of the dungeon, Grardor, Krill, Zilly, and Kriara, each have drop tables that are built around obtaining their unique drops to make money. These items, in my opinion, have just the right rarity and will net a good profit for anyone willing to camp the bosses for a moderate amount of time. Where I think they really shine though is their normal drop table. These drops allow for a modest amount of money, but will allow players to offset a good portion of their supply costs while they're grinding the bosses. To me, normal drops at God Wars never feel like a slap in the face, like at Nightmare, but rather a little something to tide you over until you see a big drop. In recent years, we've even gotten private God Wars instances for both mains and Iron Men. I can tell you that when I was grinding Bandos on my Ultimate Iron Man a couple of years ago, it was so hard to find an open world during the day that I would set my alarm for 5 a.m. so that I could manage to wake up and get some Grardor in for a couple of hours before the world started filling up. I'm an absolute maniac though, and I would not expect most people to do that, nor do I think people should have to do that. Overall, the instances have made God Wars a much more pleasant experience since the content is about fighting the bosses, not about fighting other players for an open world. Clue scrolls are the true old school version of distractions and diversions. Where things like shooting stars can often feel more like an obligation than an election to me, clue scrolls are always fun. Like an exciting side quest, a clue scroll helps to break up monotonous grinds and change up the scenery by sending players on a treasure hunt all across Gielinor. What really sets clue scrolls apart for me is the unknown factor. Will this clue scroll casket hold a load of garbage or a third age bow? While the answer is more often garbage than not, I liken the excitement of opening a clue scroll casket to scratching off a lottery ticket. You never know what you're going to get. The truth though is that even if you get the most mundane reward you've ever seen, the process of solving the clue is still fun. That's why the various clue expansions that Old School have seen is my pick for number 4 today. More variety of clues, more rewards, and more sources for clue scrolls. Back in the day, Slayer was the primary source of all clues, which was great for breaking up the Slayer grind a bit, but it didn't help at all with things like skilling. Today, you can find clues while woodcutting, mining, fishing, all kinds of activities can drop clues. You can even buy medium clues from Trouble Brewing, though that one could probably require a bit of a rework in 2022. My point is that clues are always a good time, and we can always use some more fun to break up the grind. The way people play Old School RuneScape has evolved over the years. Now more than ever, players are fixated on maximizing XP rates, finding the most efficient moneymakers, and avoiding any activities that don't adequately reward them with tangible resources. For many, this mindset got exhausting, especially the point about identifying the best moneymaker and then sticking with that content forever, because, well, anything else would be inefficient. Enter Iron Man mode, a new way to play the game. No longer are players chained to the best moneymakers or efficient content. From October 2014 onward, those who chose to play Iron Man mode would flip the game on its head and be forced to interact with content like never before. Suddenly, the GP was irrelevant, previously dead content became necessary again, and new strategies would have to be developed from the ground up. Whether it's normal, hardcore, group, or Ultimate Iron Man, each game mode has something unique to offer those who find themselves stuck in a rut on the game, logging in to do their 10 daily Vorkath KC before bank standing at the GE for another 15 minutes, and then logging off bored for the day. For anyone who feels like I just personally described them, I highly recommend trying out an Iron Man. To me, it feels like a completely fresh experience, but one that's still set in the world of RuneScape that I know and love. PVM has been big and old school for a long time, but the boss meta was typically limited to attack, eat, and maybe change prayers. We needed a grand PVM experience, something that would test the mechanical ability of players and offer incredible rewards to those willing to take on the challenge. Then, in January of 2017, we got it with the release of Chambers of Xeric. Raids was instrumental in breaking the mold of old school PVM. All of a sudden, we had something that demanded team coordination, in-depth understanding of boss mechanics, and strategy. Above all else, Chambers was worth doing. The Twisted Bow was so obviously a game changer, but prayer scrolls, best in slot magic robes, new weapons, there were so many reasons to jump into Chambers. Now fast forward to 2018, Theater of Blood was introduced, where Chambers provided some level of variety in raid layout and mechanics that sometimes left you feeling like damage was a bit unfair. Tob was the complete opposite. Tob introduced a linear layout with incredibly punishing mechanics, but mechanics that were extremely fair to the player and never left you feeling like you got screwed over for no reason. The truth is, both raids have their problems and both have their strong points. I think the biggest detriment to Tob is the grouping aspect, but if you can look past that, then I feel like Tob is probably the funnest content in the game. The great thing about having 2 raids, and of course the third coming next year, is that you can find whatever niche you want to play in. Want a slower pace with more variety? Grab some friends and do Chambers. Want a sweaty efficiency session that will push your PVM ability to the limits? Tob all the way. Not to mention we have a challenge mode for Chambers now and hard mode for TOB. Raids presents so much opportunity to PVM in a new way while also allowing you to pick and choose the experience that you want to have. First thing first, let's get something straight. I make a distinction between good content and fun content. Usually those two overlap. For me, the intersection is pretty limited when it comes to the Inferno. I spent over 200 hours learning the Inferno on my Ultimate Iron Man before I succeeded in getting my first cape. I would not describe those 200 hours as fun. My reason for putting the Inferno at number 1 is that an MMO always needs a larger-than-life challenge to work towards. Something that the players look at and say, I'll never be able to do that. But then, if you're like me, a day comes where you're willing to give it a try, and not just a try, no, a lot of tries. For reference, this is my Inferno attempt log. It excludes a very few early reset runs, but these are the 27 runs that it took for me to get my cape. This is the mountain of old school RuneScape that a player has to climb if they want to best the pinnacle of PVM content. Let's be clear, the Inferno is not for everyone, but a game always needs that one larger-than-life goal that looms on the horizon. That one piece of content that will have you smashing your head into your keyboard for days on end, but then one day you conquer it, throw your arms up in the air, and you'll say to yourself, that was worth it. For old school RuneScape, that's the Inferno, and that is why it's my number 1 pick for this episode. If I didn't cover your number 1 pick today, let me know what it is in the comments. Like I said earlier, this game has so much content, it was hard to pick my personal top 5, and I think I could easily make a follow-up episode, so make your case for what your favorite is and let me know. If you enjoyed, please take a second to leave a like and consider subscribing for more content in your sub box. Today's outro is a reminder that no matter who you are, what you've gone through, or what you've done, there's always happiness to be found and there's always redemption to be had. The world needs more positivity, guys. Much love. Thank you for watching. Stay safe and healthy, and I will see you next time.